My family avoided me, and together they ate in expensive restaurants. When I found out it was because of my ex-boyfriend, I said, "Hey Reddit, I don't even know where to start because my head is spinning, but here goes. My name's Alex, I'm 32, and up until a couple of months ago, I thought my life was, well, normal. I have a decent job, a wife named Sophie, and 2 kids, Emma, 8, and Jack, 5. We live in a cozy little house in the suburbs. You know, nothing fancy but comfortable. But lately, I've been noticing some weird things happening. It started small. Sophie and the kids would huddle together, whispering and giggling. When I'd ask what was so funny, they'd either brush me off or give me vague answers like, "Oh, it's nothing," or "You wouldn't get it." At first, I thought I was overthinking it. Families have inside jokes, right? Then, things started escalating. Last month, I walked into the kitchen to find them all laughing hysterically over something on Sophie's phone. When I asked what was so funny, Sophie quickly locked her phone and said, "Oh, just a meme, Alex. Nothing you'd care about." Her tone was so dismissive it stung, but I didn't push it. What really hit me, though, was when I noticed I wasn't being included in family plans anymore. One Saturday, I came home from running errands to find Sophie and the kids gone. I texted her, asking where they were, and she replied, "Oh, just a quick trip to the park," but her tone felt off. Later that night, when I was scrolling through Facebook, I saw a picture Sophie had posted of them at a picnic. It wasn't just them, though. Her sister Claire, her brother-in-law Matt, and even my parents were there. Everyone smiling and happy. Except me. I wasn't there. I confronted Sophie about it that night. "Why didn't you tell me about the picnic?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She didn't even flinch. "You were busy. I didn't think you'd want to come anyway." I wasn't busy. I'd gone grocery shopping because she'd asked me to. And even if I had been busy, why not invite me? The next few weeks were filled with more of the same. Sophie and the kids seemed to be speaking their own language, leaving me out of conversations. They'd laugh at jokes that flew over my head, and when I'd ask what was so funny, I'd get the same dismissive responses. It wasn't just at home either. One evening, I stopped by Sophie's parents' house unannounced to pick up some tools I'd lent her dad. When I walked in, I saw the whole family sitting around the table, eating dinner. The kids were there. Sophie was there. Even my parents were there. But no one had told me about it. I stood there, stunned, for a moment before Sophie's mom noticed me. "Oh, Alex, we didn't think you'd want to come," she said with a nervous laugh. "Why wouldn't I want to come?" I asked, looking directly at Sophie. Sophie shrugged. "You've been so busy lately. We didn't want to bother you." Busy? I wasn't busy. I was at home, wondering what everyone else was up to. That night, I started to dig. I checked Sophie's social media accounts, scrolling through her posts and pictures. That's when I noticed a pattern. There were dozens of photos from family outings, barbecues, and game nights that I hadn't been invited to. In some of the captions, Sophie even made it sound like I was the one who had chosen not to be there. Things like, "Such a fun day with the family. Missed Alex, though. He was busy as usual." It was like they were rewriting reality, making me the absentee husband and dad. I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was going on. Why was I being left out? Why was Sophie painting this picture of me as someone who didn't care about his family? The worst part is that I started to question myself. Was I doing something wrong? Had I been so caught up in work or my own life that I'd missed some huge sign? I didn't think so, but the way everyone was acting made me doubt everything. Then came the final straw. Last weekend, I overheard Sophie on the phone. She was in the living room, talking quietly, but I could hear her laughing. "Yeah, he has no idea," she said. I froze. No idea about what? I moved closer to the doorway, careful not to make any noise. "It's just easier this way," she continued. "I mean, he's so oblivious. He doesn't even notice." My heart was pounding. What didn't I notice? What was easier this way? She hung up before I could hear more, and when I walked into the room, she smiled at me like nothing had happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words in my head, trying to figure out what they meant. My mind went to dark places. Was she cheating? Was she planning to leave me? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Reddit? My own family is shutting me out, and I don't know why. Every time I try to talk to Sophie about it, she brushes me off or changes the subject. The kids seem to be in on it, too. They've started hiding things from me. Like when I ask about their day, they give vague answers or look to Sophie before responding. I need answers, but I don't know where to start. Should I confront Sophie again? Talk to my parents? Am I just being paranoid? I feel like I'm standing on the outside of my own life, watching everyone else live it without me. Any advice would be appreciated. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I posted a while back about feeling alienated from my family, and I thought I'd give an update. Honestly, I wish I didn't have to, because things have gone from bad to worse, and I feel like I'm spiraling. So, after my last post, I decided to start paying more attention. I stopped taking Sophie and the kids' dismissive answers at face value. If they were whispering or laughing about something, I'd linger in the room longer than usual. I started noticing more inconsistencies in Sophie's stories, like when she'd say she went to her mom's house, but I'd later see a photo of her and the kids at some trampoline park. I figured it was time to do a little more digging. One evening, Sophie left her phone on the counter while she went to tuck Jack into bed. She's normally glued to it, but this time, she didn't take it with her. It was just sitting there, screen lit up with a new notification. I don't usually snoop, but something about the situation felt off. The notification was from a group chat. The name of the chat made my stomach drop. Family time, no Alex. I just stood there, staring at it for what felt like forever. My hands were shaking. I couldn't resist. I unlocked her phone. We share the same passcode, or at least we did before all this started. The chat was filled with messages from Sophie, my parents, her parents, and even my sister Lauren. It was like a play-by-play of my exclusion from their lives. One of the recent messages was from Sophie. Thanks for keeping Alex out of the loop about Saturday. He's so clueless. Followed by a response from my mom. It's for the best. He'd just make it awkward anyway. Awkward? Awkward. My own mother thought I'd make spending time with my family awkward? The chat wasn't just about hiding things from me. It was actively organizing events and conversations designed to exclude me. Barbecues, movie nights, dinners, even small things, like sharing recipes or planning birthday surprises. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just Sophie, it was everyone. My entire family had been conspiring to leave me out, and they were laughing about it behind my back. I didn't confront Sophie that night. Instead, I decided to call my younger sister, Lauren. She's always been the more level-headed one in the family, and I thought, maybe, just maybe, she'd give me some answers. When I called her, she sounded surprised to hear from me. Hey, Alex. What's up? Lauren, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Okay, what's going on? I know about the group chat. The one called Family Time, no Alex. Another pause. This time, it felt like she was trying to figure out how much I knew. What are you talking about? She finally said, but her voice had a nervous edge to it. Don't lie to me, Lauren, I snapped. I saw it on Sophie's phone. I know everyone's been hiding things from me. I just want to know why. She sighed, and I could hear the guilt in her voice. Alex, I don't know if it's my place to tell you. It's your place if it involves me. I shouted, louder than I intended. I'm your brother. I deserve to know why my own family is shutting me out. There was a long silence. Finally, Lauren said, Okay, but you can't tell anyone I told you, okay? This has been a huge deal for everyone. I agreed, even though I had no idea what I was agreeing to. Lauren took a deep breath. It's not what you think, Alex. We're not doing this to hurt you. There's something going on. Something we didn't want to tell you about until we were sure. Sure about what? I asked, my voice shaking. She hesitated again. I can't say. You'll have to talk to Sophie. But just, please know that we didn't mean for you to find out like this. We thought we were protecting you. Protecting me? From what? I tried pressing her for more information, but she clammed up. I've already said too much, she said. Just talk to Sophie, okay? She'll explain everything. That night, I barely slept. My mind was racing with possibilities. Was someone in the family sick? Were they planning some kind of intervention? The idea of an affair crossed my mind again, but Lauren's tone didn't match that. Whatever it was, it felt bigger than infidelity. The next day, I confronted Sophie. Sophie, I know about the group chat, I said as soon as we were alone. She froze. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, I snapped. The one called Family Time. No, Alex, duh. I saw it on your phone. Her face turned pale, and for a moment, she looked genuinely panicked. But then she quickly recovered. Alex, it's not what you think, she said, her voice calm and measured. Then what is it? I demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my entire family is conspiring to cut me out of their lives. She sighed and sat down at the kitchen table. It's complicated. Try me, I said, crossing my arms. Sophie looked at me for a long time before speaking. We didn't mean for you to find out like this. We were going to tell you, but we needed time to figure everything out first. Figure what out? I asked, my patience wearing thin. She hesitated, then said, it's about your dad. He's been acting strange lately. We think he might be hiding something, and we didn't want to involve you until we knew for sure. That threw me for a loop. My dad? What could he possibly be hiding? What do you mean, strange? I asked. Sophie sighed again. It's hard to explain. He's been disappearing for hours at a time, lying about where he's been. We found things. Things that don't make sense. Like what? She hesitated. I can't say more. Not until we're sure. That was the last straw for me. You can't keep doing this, Sophie, I shouted. You can't keep shutting me out and expecting me to just accept it. I'm your husband, for God's sake. I know, she said quietly, and I'm sorry. But please, just trust me. We're doing this for you. I didn't know what to believe anymore. My family says they're protecting me, but from what? And why do I feel like I'm the one being betrayed? I don't know where to go from here. I feel like I'm stuck in a nightmare I can't wake up from. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I wish I could say things have improved since my last post, but they haven't. If anything, they've gotten more surreal. I've uncovered something huge, something I never would have imagined, and I don't even know where to start unpacking it. After Sophie's vague explanation about my dad and the family's secrecy, I couldn't stop thinking about what Lauren had said, that they were protecting me. From what? I was exhausted from all the deflection, so I decided to confront someone else, my dad, directly. I stopped by his house one evening under the pretense of returning some tools. I could tell he was surprised to see me. Alex, what are you doing here? You could have just dropped those off another time. I need to talk to you, I said, stepping inside. My dad froze for a moment, but nodded. All right, come in. We sat in his living room, and I didn't waste time. Dad, what's going on? Why is everyone acting so weird? And why do you keep disappearing? Sophie said something about you hiding things. His face went pale, and he let out a deep sigh. Alex, I don't know what you've heard, but it's not what you think. Then what is it? I asked, my frustration boiling over. I can't talk about it right now, he said, avoiding my eyes. Just know that everything we've done has been for your own good. Those words set me off. For my own good? How does excluding me from my own family protect me? How does lying to me help? He stood up and started pacing. You don't understand. It's not that simple. There are things we had to do to protect you from getting hurt. Hurt by what? I yelled. He didn't answer. Instead, he just shook his head and muttered, I can't do this. I left his house angrier than I'd ever been. Whatever this secret was, it was eating away at everyone, and I was the only one being kept in the dark. The next day, I decided to confront Lauren again. This time, I wasn't going to let her dodge my questions. Lauren, I said as soon as she picked up the phone, I need answers and I need them now. She sighed. Alex, I told you, I can't. You don't get to keep doing this. I interrupted. You're my sister. You owe me the truth. There was a long silence before she finally spoke. Okay, but you're not going to like it. I don't care, I said. Just tell me. She took a deep breath. It's about Jack. Hearing his name hit me like a punch to the gut. Jack was my ex. We'd dated for 3 years, and I thought he was the one. But out of nowhere, he broke up with me. No explanation, no closure. Just a clean break that left me shattered. I'd spent years trying to move on, and I thought I'd finally succeeded. What about Jack? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Alex, Lauren said, her tone heavy with guilt. He cheated on you. The words hung in the air, sharp and cutting. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What? He cheated on you, she repeated. We found out, but we didn't want to tell you. We thought it would hurt you too much. So, we convinced him to end things quickly. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. You knew? Everyone knew? And no one told me? We were trying to protect you, she said, her voice rising. You were so happy with him, and we didn't want to ruin that. When we found out he was cheating, we thought it would be better if he just ended things without you knowing the truth. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own family had kept this from me for years. They'd let me believe Jack had just lost interest, that he'd moved on while I was left to pick up the pieces. How long have you known? I asked, my voice trembling. Since a few months before the breakup, she admitted. Sophie was the one who found out. She saw him at a restaurant with someone else. She told Mom and Dad, and they decided it was better to handle it quietly. Handle it? I repeated, stunned. What does that even mean? We confronted him, Lauren said. We told him to break up with you, and to do it in a way that wouldn't raise suspicion. We thought we were doing the right thing, Alex. We didn't want you to go through the pain of knowing he cheated. I was speechless. My own family had orchestrated my breakup. They'd manipulated my life, all while pretending to have my best interests at heart. You didn't have the right to make that decision for me, I said, my voice shaking with anger. I know, Lauren said quietly, and I'm sorry, but we thought we were helping. I hung up without saying another word. I couldn't process what I just heard. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Jack's infidelity was bad enough, but the fact that my family had known and hidden it from me felt like a second betrayal. That night, I confronted Sophie again. You knew about Jack, I said as soon as we were alone. Her face fell. Alex, Don't, I said, holding up a hand. Don't try to justify it. Just tell me the truth. She sighed and sat down. Yes, I knew. I saw him with someone else, and I told your parents. We all decided it was better not to tell you. Better for who? I demanded. Because it sure as hell wasn't better for me. We didn't want to see you hurt, she said, her voice breaking. You were so in love with him, and we knew it would destroy you if you found out. It destroyed me anyway. I shouted. He broke up with me out of nowhere, and I spent years blaming myself. Do you have any idea what that did to me? To my self-esteem? To my trust? I'm sorry, she said, tears streaming down her face. We thought we were doing the right thing. Well, you weren't, I said coldly. You had no right to make that decision for me. I didn't sleep that night. My mind was racing with memories of my relationship with Jack, replaying every moment and wondering how much of it was a lie. I thought about my family, the people I trusted most, and how they'd betrayed me in the name of protection. I don't know where to go from here, Reddit. My family says they were trying to protect me, but all they've done is hurt me more than I ever thought possible. I feel like I can't trust anyone anymore. Not Jack, not Sophie, not even my parents. What do I do? Hey Reddit, it's me again. I don't know why I keep coming back here, but I guess I just need to vent. Things with my family have reached a breaking point, and I don't know how to process it all. I feel like everything I thought I knew about the people closest to me has been flipped upside down. First, I find out they've been shutting me out of their lives, planning events and keeping secrets behind my back. Then, I discover the group chat, family time, no Alex, and all the lies they've been telling to justify excluding me. And now, this. My ex, Jack, cheated on me, and instead of telling me, they decided to orchestrate a breakup to protect me. I'm not even sure where to start unpacking how I feel. Angry doesn't even begin to cover it. Betrayed? Hurt? Devastated? It's like every emotion is crashing down on me at once, and I can't find a way out. Let me backtrack a little. After my confrontation with Sophie, I decided I needed space. I packed a bag and told her I was staying at a motel for a few nights. She begged me not to go, saying we could work through it together, but I couldn't even look at her. You made decisions for me that weren't yours to make, I told her before I left. I need time to figure out how to move forward from this. The motel was depressing, but it was quiet, and I needed that. I spent hours just sitting there, replaying everything in my head. Memories of my relationship with Jack kept surfacing, like the time we went on a road trip to the mountains and got caught in the rain, or the way he used to make me coffee every morning before work. I'd thought those moments were real, but now they felt tainted. And my family. God, where do I even begin? The people I trusted most had lied to me for years. They decided I wasn't strong enough to handle the truth, so they made choices for me without my knowledge. Do you know how dehumanizing that feels? To have your agency taken away like that? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I wasn't some fragile child who needed to be shielded from reality. I'm an adult. I could have handled the truth about Jack, painful as it would have been. What I couldn't handle was the years of lies and manipulation that followed. I posted my story here because I needed an outlet. I wrote about everything: the group chat, the secrets, Jack's infidelity, and my family's betrayal. I didn't expect much, maybe a few comments of support or advice. But the response was overwhelming. People flooded the comments with their thoughts. Some were on my side, saying my family was completely out of line and had no right to make decisions for me. Others said they could understand why my family did what they did, even if it was wrong. A few even tried to justify their actions, saying they probably thought they were sparing me from unnecessary pain. One comment stuck with me. Someone wrote, "Your family didn't protect you, they controlled you." There's a big difference. They made a decision based on what they thought was best, but they didn't give you the chance to decide for yourself. That's not love, that's manipulation. It hit me like a ton of bricks. That was exactly it. They hadn't acted out of love, they'd acted out of fear. Fear that I wouldn't handle the truth the way they wanted me to. Another commenter suggested I confront them as a group. If they made this decision together, they should face the consequences together, they wrote. That idea terrified me, but it also felt necessary. If I was ever going to get closure, I needed to hear them explain themselves directly. I decided to call a family meeting. I texted Sophie, my parents, Lauren, and even Sophie's parents, since they'd been part of the group chat. "We need to talk," I wrote. "All of us. I'm coming over tomorrow at 7. When I arrived at my parents' house the next evening, the tension in the room was palpable. Everyone was there, sitting in the living room, looking uncomfortable. Sophie tried to give me a hug, but I stepped back. "This isn't about making me feel better," I said. "It's about accountability." I sat down and looked at each of them in turn. "I know about the group chat," I began. "I know about Jack. I know everything. What I don't understand is why you thought it was okay to lie to me and shut me out of my own life." My mom was the first to speak. "Alex, we never meant to hurt you," she said, her voice trembling. "We were trying to protect you." "Protect me from what?" I snapped. "The truth? You think I couldn't have handled it? Do you have any idea how much worse it was not knowing?" Sophie chimed in. "We didn't want to see you suffer, Alex. You were so happy with Jack, and we didn't want to take that away from you." "You didn't just take away my happiness," I said. "You took away my right to know what was happening in my own life. You took away my chance to confront Jack, to process the betrayal, to heal. Instead, you let me blame myself for years." My dad finally spoke up. "We thought we were doing the right thing," he said quietly. "We didn't want you to lose faith in people." "Well, congratulations," I said bitterly. "You accomplished the exact opposite. Now I can't trust any of you." The room fell silent. No one knew what to say. Lauren finally broke the silence. "I'm sorry, Alex," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I should have told you the truth. I wanted to, but everyone else convinced me it was better this way." "That's the problem," I said. "You all decided what was better for me without ever asking me what I wanted. You treated me like a child who couldn't handle the truth, and you've been lying to me ever since." My mom started crying, and my dad put a hand on her shoulder. "We made a mistake," he admitted. "We thought we were protecting you, but we were wrong." I stood up. "You don't get to make that call anymore," I said. "If you ever want to be part of my life again, you need to start treating me like an adult. No more lies. No more secrets. Do you understand?" Everyone nodded, but I could see the guilt and shame in their eyes. I didn't stay long after that. I told them I needed time to decide whether I could forgive them. That night, I went back to the motel and read through the comments on my post again. The support from strangers meant more to me than I could have imagined. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't alone. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I've been avoiding coming back here, hoping that things would somehow get better on their own. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Instead, the situation got even more tangled, and I'm left picking up the pieces of a life I barely recognize. This time, I confronted two people I thought I'd never have to face again. Jack, my ex, and Aunt Sandra, a relative I hadn't spoken to in years. Let me start from the beginning. After the family meeting, I felt raw and exposed, like I'd been emotionally flayed alive. I was angry at everyone. At Sophie, my parents, Lauren, but I couldn't stop thinking about Jack. For years, I'd idolized him in my mind, replaying our relationship like it was some perfect love story cut tragically short. Now, knowing he cheated, those memories felt like poison. I needed answers. I spent hours debating whether to contact him. Part of me felt like I owed it to myself to confront him, while another part was terrified of what he might say. In the end, my curiosity won out. I sent him a text. Jack, it's Alex. We need to talk. Call me. He replied almost immediately. Hey, Alex. Long time. Is everything okay? I didn't bother with small talk. No, everything is not okay. I know about what happened. About you cheating on me. There was a long pause before his response. Can we talk in person? Please. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near his place. The moment I saw him, my stomach churned. He looked good, too good. Like someone who hadn't been haunted by guilt for years. Alex, he said as I sat down, I don't know where to start. Start with the truth, I said, my voice cold. Why did you cheat on me? And why didn't you just tell me? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. It wasn't that simple. I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't want to hurt me? I snapped. Do you have any idea how much worse it was to be blindsided by our breakup with no explanation? I blamed myself for years, Jack. I know, he said, his voice cracking, and I hate myself for it. But your family, they came to me. They told me I needed to end things quietly. They said it would be better for you. I stared at him, stunned. So, what? You just went along with it? You let them decide how our relationship should end? I thought I was doing the right thing, he said. Your mom, she was so insistent. She told me about her own experiences, about how betrayal can break a person. She made me believe this was the only way to protect you. That stopped me in my tracks. What do you mean, her own experiences? Jack hesitated, then said, She told me she'd been through something similar when she was younger. She said she knew how much it would hurt you to find out the truth. I didn't know what to say. My mom had always been a pillar of strength in my life, someone I thought was unshakable. The idea that she'd been betrayed in her youth, and that she'd used that pain to justify lying to me, was almost too much to process. I left the coffee shop feeling numb. Jack had confirmed everything, but instead of giving me closure, it only raised more questions. The next day, I decided to visit my Aunt Sandra. She's my mom's older sister, and the two of them couldn't be more different. While my mom is reserved and composed, Sandra is loud, opinionated, and has a knack for saying exactly what's on her mind. If anyone could shed light on my mom's past, it was her. When I showed up at her house unannounced, she looked surprised but welcomed me in. Alex, what brings you here? She asked, ushering me into the living room. I need to talk to you about Mom, I said, getting straight to the point. Sandra raised an eyebrow. What about her? I took a deep breath. Did something happen to her when she was younger? Something involving betrayal? Sandra's expression softened. So, she finally told you? No, I said. Jack did. He said she told him about being betrayed in her youth. Sandra sighed and sat down. Your mom has always been private about that part of her life. But yes, something did happen. She was engaged once, before she met your dad. His name was Peter. I frowned. I'd never heard of Peter before. They were young, in their early 20s, Sandra continued. She was head over heels for him. But then she found out he'd been cheating on her for months. She was devastated. It took her years to recover. And she never told me? I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't want to burden you with her pain, Sandra said. But I can see now that her way of handling things has backfired. She projected her own fears onto you, Alex. She thought she was protecting you from the kind of heartbreak she went through. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process everything. My mom's actions suddenly made more sense, but that didn't make them any easier to forgive. She didn't just project, I said. She lied. She manipulated me. She let me live in ignorance while everyone else knew the truth. Sandra nodded. I understand why you're angry, and you have every right to be, but try to see it from her perspective. She thought she was doing the right thing, even if she went about it the wrong way. I left Sandra's house with mixed emotions. I felt a newfound empathy for my mom, but I was still furious at her for the choices she'd made. When I got home, I found Sophie waiting for me. She looked nervous, like she wasn't sure if I'd even want to talk to her. Alex, she said, your parents want to have another meeting. They think we should all go to family therapy. I stared at her. Family therapy? She nodded. They know they screwed up, Alex. They're willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I didn't know how to feel about that. On one hand, the idea of sitting in a room and airing all our dirty laundry in front of a stranger was terrifying. But on the other hand, maybe it was the only way to move forward. Fine, I said finally. I'll go. But this doesn't mean I've forgiven anyone. I know, Sophie said quietly. But it's a start. The first therapy session was awkward, to say the least. Everyone was on edge, and the tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The therapist, a calm woman named Dr. Harris, started by asking each of us to share how we felt about the situation. When it was my turn, I didn't hold back. I feel betrayed, I said, by everyone in this room. You all made decisions for me that weren't yours to make. You lied to me, excluded me, and treated me like I couldn't handle the truth. That's not love. That's control. My mom broke down in tears, and my dad put a comforting arm around her. We're sorry, Alex, he said. We thought we were protecting you, but we see now that we were wrong. It was a long and painful session, but by the end of it, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest. We still had a lot of work to do, but at least we were finally addressing the truth. I don't know what the future holds for my family, but I'm cautiously hopeful. Maybe therapy will help us heal. Or maybe it won't. Only time will tell. Hey Reddit, it's Alex again. I'm back with another update, maybe the last one for a while. After everything that's happened, I'm finally starting to see a sliver of light at the end of this long, dark tunnel. The first family therapy session was brutal. We were all there. Me, Sophie, my parents, Lauren, and even my dad's sister, Aunt Sandra. Dr. Harris, our therapist, started by asking each of us to share what we wanted from the process. I want my family to stop hiding things from me, I said bluntly. I want honesty and accountability. No more lies. My mom nodded, her eyes red from crying. I just want to make things right, she said softly. Everyone else echoed similar sentiments, but it was clear that years of pent-up emotions weren't going to be resolved overnight. The first few sessions were tense. Every time I brought up the group chat or the lies about Jack, my mom would get defensive, and my dad would try to play mediator. Let's focus on moving forward, he kept saying, as if we could just skip over the damage they'd caused. But Dr. Harris didn't let anyone off the hook. She pushed us to confront the hard truths, to sit in the discomfort and really listen to each other.